today. What is he doing here? I thought I got rid of you. I'm across the country, yet somehow, someway, you find yourself right here in front of me asking questions. Oh, goodness. Folks, you ever have that one person that you'll be around, whether it's at work, right? Whether it was at school growing up, maybe a family reunion, a family gathering, a get-together, the in-law shows up.
The energy in the room shifted instantly. A dark cloud seemed to descend. Caitlin Clark, the brightest star in sports, looked visibly sick, her expression tightening the moment she saw one particular reporter. This wasn't irritation. It wasn't fatigue. It was a physical reaction, a sharp and undeniable aversion to Scott Agnes, the Fieldhouse Files reporter who had seemingly followed her across the country just to stand in front of her once again. This wasn't professional annoyance. It was pure, unmistakable contempt etched across her face, a silent, public declaration of a deeper grievance that left onlookers stunned. Her usually bright demeanor vanished. In its place was a strained attempt to stay composed, revealing a conflict far more serious than anyone had imagined. The visual alone told the story, a narrative of tension unfolding in real time, exposing emotions she had never shown so openly before. Something significant had clearly happened to provoke such a powerful, negative reaction from one of the most composed athletes in the game, marking a rare moment of raw, unfiltered emotion.
You'll be around, whether it's at work, right? Whether it was at school growing up, maybe a family reunion, a family gathering, a get-together, the in-law shows up, the cousin shows up, the uncle, the aunt, and then just instantly, as soon as they arrive, the energy just shifts, right? As soon as they show up, a dark cloud just comes hovering around that environment. Sometimes it even trickles down to you, right? You at work, you won't be disrespectful, but you'll be short, you'll be brief, hard to crack a smile, hard to garner any type of positive emotion. Well, Caitlin Clark.
Imagine that person at work or at a family gathering whose presence instantly darkens the atmosphere, someone who makes you uncomfortable, almost physically ill. You wouldn't be disrespectful, but your responses would become clipped, brief. A forced politeness with no warmth behind it. That palpable shift in energy is exactly what played out when Caitlin Clark encountered Scott Agnes. The air grew thick with unspoken tension, a stark departure from the usual athlete-reporter dynamic. Her body language radiated discomfort, a clear signal that this wasn't a casual interaction, but a confrontation she was obligated to endure. The contrast was so sharp, so undeniable, that it left no room for interpretation about her true feelings regarding his presence. This wasn't mild dislike. It was a deeply rooted aversion that manifested physically, painting a vivid picture of division and disdain right there in public view.
Hard to garner any type of positive emotion. Well, Caitlin Clark seemed to get physically ill at the sight of Scott Agnes. Scott, salute to you, Scott. Dude, great work with the interviews and so on and so. Great work, Scott. From the dark side to you, great work. Caitlin Clark doesn't seem to be, folks. All I know is that if I'm getting an interview somewhere, if I'm a player for a team and a beat reporter, somebody who's around the team often, and I like them, they show up somewhere where I'm not expecting them. I'm like, oh, dude, what?
When Scott Agnes approached with his questions about competitive energy, putting on a show, and anticipating the fans, Caitlin Clark responded with a rigid, almost robotic composure. She struggled to muster any genuine enthusiasm. Her smile was strained, her eyes lacked their usual spark. The entire interaction felt forced, a chore she was enduring rather than a conversation she wanted to engage in. It was obvious she was working hard to keep herself composed, to conceal the deep discomfort his presence triggered. This wasn't the vibrant, confident, effervescent Caitlin Clark fans are used to seeing. This was a guarded, visibly drained version of her, clearly wanting the exchange to end as quickly as possible. The tension was undeniable, a stark visual representation of the division Agnes has apparently sown, now manifesting directly in front of the camera. It left everyone watching to wonder just how strained their relationship truly is.
When you see somebody you don't like, what up? Let's see what exactly transpired. I'm not going to give you some stills. Let's get it in its full context, shall we?
With it.
Frank, go for it.
Galen, Scott Agnes Fieldhouse Files. I'm just curious, what was it like to have that competitive juices
Damn. Head down. Like, damn. No eye contact. Damn.
running through you once again, even though and then also putting on a show as someone who knows the fans are here to see you.
Yeah, I mean, like, these are the things that you love, like being competitive. And
Then came a complete transformation. When Caroline Collins from Visit St. Pete Clearwater stepped forward, it was like watching a different person emerge. Caitlin Clark's entire expression shifted. Her face lit up, a genuine, radiant smile blooming instantly, bright as a Christmas tree. Perfect eye contact, clear admiration, full acknowledgement. Every sign of warmth and true engagement was there. The shift was jarring. It was a powerful visual demonstration of how deeply her emotions were tied to the person asking the questions. This was the Caitlin Clark everyone recognizes, joyful, articulate, relaxed, even excited to share personal anecdotes about her family vacations. This wasn't polite professionalism. This was sincere connection. This was authenticity. And that contrast, the ease and warmth she showed with Collins versus the strained discomfort she displayed with Agnes, spoke.
Now the question is, why? Why? Let's play body language, doctor. We're having fun. Why? Well, you have to think that Caitlin Clark does care about her image. She does care about her standing with fans. And if you look at some of the biggest controversies around the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark, most likely this season, you'll think of two scenarios, right? Scott Agnes calling Fever fans the dark side. Her fans bringing a dark...
The visible struggle to compose herself when Agnes appeared was undeniable, almost as if an internal voice screamed, "Damn, him again." It was a moment of profound effort, forcing herself to gather the energy to keep it together. This wasn't a routine press interaction. It was a psychological battle unfolding in real time. Despite her clear aversion, she had to actively suppress her true feelings, working to mask the discomfort that Agnes' presence triggered. The immediate shift from visible disdain to forced neutrality was a testament to her professionalism, but the effort it required was obvious to anyone paying attention. This moment revealed something far deeper than a simple annoyance. It exposed a core conflict, one that demanded instant emotional management, highlighting just how serious and entrenched the division between them truly was.
Likely this season, you'll think of two scenarios, right? Scott Agnes calling Fever fans the dark side. Her fans bringing a darkness with them, a dark cloud with them. That's one. That, she probably didn't like that. Number two, Scott Agnes taking it upon himself to reveal an injury that the team was actively hiding. And that created even more division within the fan base. Caitlin Clark has to be looking at him like, dude, the amount of shit.
The underlying reason for this frosty reception goes back to Scott Agnes' controversial past remarks. He notoriously labeled Fever fans, specifically Caitlin Clark's devoted supporters, as the dark side, implying that they brought a darkness or a dark cloud with them. This wasn't a minor jab. It was a direct insult aimed at the very fan base that rallies behind Clark, creating deep division and resentment. For an athlete as image-conscious as Clark, someone who is profoundly connected to her supporters, a public slight like that wouldn't be forgotten. Agnes had effectively alienated the community she worked tirelessly to build, drawing a clear line between his reporting and her loyal base, irreversibly damaging his standing in her eyes. That inflammatory statement wasn't just careless. It was a direct attack on her most loyal fans. And it was the moment that firmly cemented his place on her undesirable list.
And that created even more division within the fan base. Caitlin Clark has to be looking at him like, dude, the amount of shit you did to the fans that follow me, the amount of division that you cause within the fan base that follows me, I'm gonna have to let you feel it a little bit, Scott. You're not getting any cosigns out of me. You don't think Caitlin Clark knows who Fieldhouse Files is? Scott Agnes Fieldhouse Files? You think Caitlin Clark doesn't know? You think if that was Caitlin Clark's girl?
This dark side accusation didn't just ruffle feathers. It actively created massive division within the Indiana Fever fan base. Scott Agnes words ignited a firestorm, turning loyal supporters against each other and casting a shadow over the team's public image. Caitlin Clark, who is deeply aware of her connection to fans and the importance of maintaining a united front, would have seen this as an unforgivable offense. For her, it wasn't simply a reporter expressing an opinion. It was an attack on the integrity and unity of the community she represents. The fallout from his comments festered, creating an environment of mistrust and resentment that directly affected her relationship with Agnes. He had undermined the positive atmosphere she consistently works to build, causing irreparable damage to fan morale, and by extension, harming her public relations efforts.
You think Caitlin Clark knows who Fieldhouse Files is? Scott Agnes Fieldhouse Files? You think Caitlin Clark doesn't know? You think if that was Caitlin Clark's girl or Caitlin Clark's boy? You think if somehow Travis Kelce showed up there and asked him questions, you don't think she's shouting out the New Heights podcast? Of course she is. But Scott, she doesn't fuck with you. But she doesn't mess with you like that. Scott, what do you want from me? You thought you were going to get a shout out. Hey, everybody go follow Fieldhouse Files over there. She lets you... It's Scott Agnes with Fieldhouse Files? Oh, shit. This guy...
But the dark side comment was only part of the story. Scott Agnes escalated things further when he took it upon himself to reveal a major injury the team was actively trying to keep private. This wasn't a responsible journalistic scoop earned through official channels. It was a deliberate leak that undermined the team's strategy, violated privacy, and sparked even greater internal and external conflict. Such a breach of trust, especially regarding a player's health, is almost unforgivable in the close-knit world of professional sports. It thrust Caitlin Clark's well-being and her recovery timeline into public scrutiny far too early, disrupting the carefully managed narrative surrounding her career. The leak showed a blatant disregard for both the team's wishes and Clark's personal welfare, deepening the division he had already created. To make matters worse, the hidden injury revelation was published behind a paywall. That single choice magnified the fallout, making it seem as though he was profiting off internal team struggles and a player's private medical situation. It didn't just divide the fan base. It may have caused fractures within the team itself, exposing vulnerabilities that were never meant to be public. For an athlete like Caitlin Clark, who values transparency and trust between herself and her supporters, this was a direct betrayal. She and the team were forced into a reactive position, addressing a leak rather than controlling their own message. Agnes, reporting directly complicated team communications, and intensified the already strained relationship with the fan base, cementing his reputation as a disruptive force. His actions created an atmosphere of suspicion that affected team morale and public perception alike. Caitlin Clark is meticulous about her public image. She understands the power of perception and the importance of maintaining a loyal, united following. Through his divisive comments and unauthorized injury report, Scott Agnes had attacked both. The amount of damage he caused, especially the division he sparked within her fan base, was not something she would easily forget or forgive. She was forced to navigate the fallout from his reporting, dealing with the mistrust and anger he had stirred. This wasn't standard criticism. It was destructive to the carefully built image and devotion she has cultivated. This history of perceived betrayal explains why Caitlin Clark would never co-sign Scott Agnes. There would be no shout-out, no recommendation to follow Fieldhouse Files. She simply does not deal with him like that. Offering him any positive endorsement after the division he caused would be unthinkable. Clark, known for her sharp instincts and PR awareness, understands that validating him would legitimize his reporting in the eyes of her loyal supporters. Her refusal to acknowledge him beyond forced professional courtesy becomes a silent protest, a clear message that his actions carry consequences. Contrast that with how she would react if someone like Travis Kelce or a close friend unexpectedly showed up. There would be genuine excitement, warmth, and maybe even a spontaneous shout-out to the New Heights podcast. That's the kind of authentic energy she reserves for people she actually respects. Scott Agnes, however, sits firmly on the opposite end of that spectrum. His casual "what's up" is met with an internal sigh, a desire to end the interaction quickly rather than any sign of genuine engagement. The difference is deliberate, unmistakable, and visible to anyone paying attention to her body language. The podcast host describes Scott Agnes, reporting as causing irreparable damage, and that isn't an exaggeration. It reflects the profound impact his actions had on the team, its fans, and, most importantly, on Caitlin Clark's view of him. Breaching trust by revealing a private injury and insulting an entire fan base created wounds that a press conference couldn't mend. The harm was emotional, not just public relations based. His reporting created a chasm of ill will that Clark was forced to navigate, clearly viewing him as more of a liability than an ally. Adding insult to injury, literally, Agnes chose to publish the confidential information behind a paywall. This further framed his reporting not as journalism, but as a calculated attempt to profit from internal team issues. It suggested a disregard for team privacy and a prioritization of clicks and subscriptions over ethics. For Caitlin Clark, this likely cemented the belief that he was not acting in the team's best interest, but rather for personal gain. The paywall turned a breach of trust into a transactional moment, deepening the sense of betrayal. It's important to understand that Caitlin Clark's visceral reaction wasn't a matter of being thin-skinned. It was a reflection of her deep understanding of the sports landscape. She knows that her image is everything, and that her bond with fans is the foundation of her influence. Anything that creates division or casts a dark cloud over her team poses a direct threat to her brand and her legacy. She's not just a player, she's a phenomenon. And protecting that carefully built image is a top priority. Agnes' reporting challenged that directly, forcing her to take a stance, even if that stance was expressed through visible disgust. Her strained demeanor around him was a powerful silent protest. In a world where athletes are trained to remain neutral and composed, Clark's inability to fully hide her feelings spoke volumes. It was her way of making sure Agnes felt the consequences of his actions. This wasn't a scripted PR move. It was raw, authentic human emotion revealing the depth of the conflict. Her deliberate lack of warmth was a clear boundary, signaling that she would not play along with someone who had harmed her relationship with her fans. In truth, Agnes, reporting, from labeling fans as the dark side to exposing a private injury, created a constant undercurrent of negativity throughout the season. This wasn't one bad moment. It was a pattern that repeatedly fractured unity within the Fever community. As the face of the franchise, Caitlin Clark bore the brunt of it. Her visible discomfort wasn't just about his presence. It was the culmination of a season's worth of internal conflict and public discord fueled by his reporting. Clark's reaction communicated an unmistakable message. Some lines, once crossed, cannot be uncrossed. Her physical aversion wasn't simple dislike. It was a public declaration of principle, a refusal to show warmth to someone whose actions she perceived as harmful to her team and her supporters. Even in the polished world of professional sports, real emotion can break through, revealing true sentiment. She drew a line, making it clear that certain behaviors from reporters would not be tolerated or overlooked. This dramatic exchange raises serious questions about accountability in sports journalism. When a reporter's actions lead to such profound negative reactions from the athletes they cover, especially involving fan relations and private team information, where should the ethical boundaries lie? Agnes may have been applauded for revealing injury information, but at what cost to trust, morale, and the personal well-being of those involved? Clark's visible discomfort is a reminder that journalism isn't just about getting the story. It's about understanding the impact that story has on real people and communities. Ultimately, Caitlin Clark's reaction wasn't just a moment of discomfort. It was a symbolic expression of the intense pressure and deeply personal battles that athletes face behind the scenes. It highlighted how media narratives, when reckless, can fuel division, breach trust, and turn professional interactions into emotionally charged confrontations. The image of her reacting with visible disgust after a season of division caused by his reporting paints a vivid picture of the emotional toll such conflicts can create. It was a powerful testament to her loyalty to her fans and her fierce determination to protect her image even if that meant openly displaying her disdain. Bye.